Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video.
Have you ever been out hiking amongst incredible views? Just this incredible scene down here, taken loads of photographs only to get them all home and find out that they're actually all terrible. Well, in today's video, I'm going to share 5 tips to try and make sure that that doesn't happen to you the next time that you go out. And stick around to the end because there's actually a little bit of a bonus tip that, to be honest, I was scared to include in this video. Controversial one, absolutely, because I think a lot of you might actually disagree with it. Hi everyone, my name's Henry and I'm a professional landscape photographer based here in the UK. And on this YouTube channel, I share photography tips, behind the scenes techniques and plenty of inspiration. If that sounds like something you'd enjoy, do hit the subscribe button to see more content from me. Now, I actually think above many different types of photography, many different niches of landscape photography, woodland, coastal photography, I actually think hiking out with your camera can be one of the most frustrating types of photography because everything looks amazing. I mean, look at this place and you'd think to yourself, there's no way I can take a bad photograph in this location. But what I've learned over the years is that it's nowhere near as simple as that. A good view never or very rarely just guarantees you a good photograph. Sometimes you can get lucky if you're in the right place at the right time, but you know yourselves as photographers, we're not out here to take photographs, we're out here to make photographs. Now for me, a lot about what making a photograph comes down to in many cases is constructing an image by using foreground, which brings me on to my first tip. You're probably going to have a wide angle lens with you out in the fells or the mountains, for those of you that are not familiar with this part of the world. And the wide angle lens is fantastic, but don't just point your wide angle lens out at the nice views. In fact, what I would encourage you to do, and this one will sound a little bit weird, but trust me, you've got to almost kind of forget about the beautiful views in the background. They're there, they're not going anywhere, and we can barely change that much in terms of that perspective, whereas we can control the foreground. So in many cases, it's all about concentrating actually on what's down at your feet, seeing if you can use it as a little bit of foreground interest to add a little bit more visual appeal to your photographs, you know, a little bit of depth and scale. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. I'm getting really low down to some of this beautiful heather down here, sticking it in the foreground. I'm making sure I'm on f/16 so that all of my photograph is in focus from the heather right to these mountains off in the background. Oh man, so the rain's got a little bit heavier, so I'm gonna have to get the old emergency waterproof out, which actually brings me on to tip number 2. So one thing I forgot to mention about one or two of these tips is that they're actually a little bit strange, and this is definitely one of them. And that is just to make sure that you've got good outdoor gear, you know, weather appropriate clothing, whatever that means in wherever it is that you're hiking. Here in the Lake District in Northern England, it's always raining. So I'd be daft to come out without waterproofs, proper hiking boots, things like that, because if I'm not comfortable and warm and dry, the last thing that I'm going to want to do is take photographs, never mind good ones. And it's just that really, isn't it? You could have the best camera in the world, 100 megapixels, you could have the best tips in the world, the best advice, but if you're not feeling up to taking photographs because you've just come out in flip-flops and a pair of shorts, not only is it dangerous, by the way, but yeah, you're just not going to be bothered to want to be taking photographs at all. So you're definitely going to get rubbish photographs when you're out hiking. And that goes for having a good camera bag as well, so that your photography gear is also protected from the elements. Oh my gosh, it's just absolutely amazing. And this is going to be the perfect example for me to talk about tip number 3. We're just getting a fell peaking for a load of low cloud that's come in with all of this rain. I think it might be cat bells off in the distance, and it is just beautiful. So I've got my 24-200 lens out for this one. This is what I love so much about coming out and photographing in the mountains when you're hiking, because a lot of the times what it is that you're photographing is the weather. So yeah, it's so changeable, but I'm zooming back to, I think it is cat bells, in at about 120 millimeters. f6.3 and then it's about 1/200th of a second. ISO is just on auto actually. And I'm just trying something a little bit artistic as the fell's peeking up through a lot of this low hanging mist. And then look at that, just like that, he's gone, he's disappeared. But I've got the shot. And yeah, like I said, tip number 3, this is a really good segue into it. He's come out with a telephoto lens. We've already talked about wide angle lenses. You're probably coming out to the mountains with one anyway. If not, definitely come out with a wide angle lens as well. But for me, if I could only come out with one lens, it'd be a long lens. Granted, this is cheating a bit because it's 24 to 200 millimeters, so it's still quite wide as well. But I love getting images like this where you can zoom in, really get that compression effect, focus on some details off in the distance as well. It genuinely has been a game changer for me. For the past few years, I definitely used to think that coming out in the mountains was all about wide angle photography. Wouldn't be without this beast. So today we're hiking up a Wainwright called Hinscarth, and we can just see him actually over my right shoulder. He's kind of engulfed in quite a lot of cloud at the minute, but it's all looking really, really epic. I love these conditions. I mean, look at that right over there, back over towards Blencathra. That is just beautiful. Back to Skiddaw. And you know what I was just thinking? This hike's been wonderful so far. I just love a ridgeline. And although it's not like a proper epic ridgeline, I just think they make for such a fun hike. So yeah, onwards. Oh, it's damp and soggy and I'm loving every second of it. So we're now at the bottom of what is really the final ascent up to Hinscarth, today's mountain. And I was just thinking, all of these wonderful photographs that you're no doubt going to be taking when you go out on your next hike after watching this video, especially after the next tip, by the way, which is a very practical one that you can probably do right now. You're probably going to want somewhere to put your photographs. You're going to want to showcase them, and for me as a photographer, there is no better way of showcasing your photographs than on your very own website. And that is where today's video sponsor, Squarespace, comes in. So if you've never heard of Squarespace, they are an all-in-one platform that you can use to build your very own website. You don't need to know anything about code or web development. It is so easy. It's a website that you go onto to build your own website, and they've got loads of wonderful looking templates, and you can genuinely have your website up and running within a couple of hours. It is so easy. And my own website is through Squarespace as well, and I'm really proud of it. And if, like me, you'd like to sell things through your Squarespace website, you could do that as well. I use it to sell prints. I've got some ebooks on there if you want to go and check it out. And yeah, I wouldn't be able to run my business without it. And not only is it really easy to build the website, like I said, but Squarespace have got wonderful award-winning customer service as well, in fact. So if you are struggling, they will be there to help you out. Now, if you'd like to give Squarespace a go, head over to squarespace.com/Henry Turner, or click the link in the video description below and you'll get yourself a free 14-day trial, which is brilliant. And if you like that free trial, make sure to use the offer code Henry Turner at checkout to get 10% off your first purchase. Another little tip, don't come out on your hike when you know you're just going to be in a load of clag like this, like I have on my past 2 hikes. No, but it does keep sort of like clearing up every now and again. It does look quite epic. Now, on to tip number 4. Like I said a second ago, this is something that you can probably do right now, even if you just sat at home. And that is to do a little bit of scouting online on the internet. Use like Ordnance Survey maps if you're here in the UK, topography maps, to your advantage to try and gain a bit of an understanding of the lay of the land. What features are going to be available for you to photograph? Are there any buildings? What's the foliage like? This fell, for example, would be fantastic for sunset, because looking out towards the west, we're going to have some beautiful fells. We're going to be able to have Buttermere or perhaps Crummockwater even a little bit down in the foreground. You know, all these features I know are going to be available to photograph from the summit, unless it's really claggy like this, but you get my point. Another thing that you can use are apps like Photo Pills or the Photographer's Ephemeris, which will show you the path of the sun throughout the day, and you know where the sun's going to rise, where the sun's going to set. And these can be really valuable tools for you to be able to figure out how the light is going to be hitting the land during your hike throughout the day. And you could sort of almost start preparing some photograph ideas in your head. It's brilliant. And this is something I do before I come out each time. You know, you can even look online, on Instagram, on Google Images, at what other people take photographs of during a certain hike. Or Do you know one thing I really like? I love looking at photographs that people have taken, but that are not photographers. They're just like snapshots of the area, snapshots of the hike. Gives you a really good idea of what the views look like without putting like ideas in your head about what proper landscape photographs are out there, because then your expectations can start getting a bit too high. Again, same as like the topography maps, just gives you a pre-visualization of what the lay of the land is going to look like more than anything. So that, yeah, tip number 4, do a bit of research before you leave by using the internet to your advantage. Oh, I'm shattered, man. Now, quite like the bonus tip that I'm going to give to you, which I promise you in a second. I'll give you that next when we get up to the summit. Probably not going to have any views like, but this tip, the 5th and final tip, really is also maybe a little bit controversial, and do comment down below. I'd love to know your opinions on this, but I'm thinking of like true beginners when I'm giving these tips, and that is come out during the golden hours. Don't come out in this. Come out during the golden hours when the light is at the best. The light's soft, the light's really warm. Everything just looks so much better. If you can. I know it's quite a commitment to come out during sunsets and sunrises up a mountain. And I feel like it's so important that I say that, because like it's potentially quite dangerous. You know, I do it because I feel quite confident. I've done it now for many years. And if I could give you any tips, go out and get yourself a really good head torch. What I always say to people, this isn't quite right, but if you get a really good head torch, you know, you're kind of not hiking in the dark anymore. If you get one that just beams a load of light in front of you, it's brilliant, and it gives you so much more confidence. And then, yeah, you can get yourself up in these incredible locations at incredible times of day, you know, just as the sun's rising or just as the sun's setting, when everything looks amazing. But yeah, like I said, maybe a little bit controversial, because some of my favourite photographs out hiking have been in the middle of the day when conditions are perhaps quite stormy. There's loads of beautiful detail up in the sky. In fact, most of them images are probably what I've made my name from as a photographer. I feel like it's almost become like my style, you know, moody photographs in the rain here in the Lake District or in Scotland, those sorts of things. So maybe take that one with a little bit of a pinch of salt. I think generally speaking, golden hours are probably better to be out, you know, taking photographs in wherever you are, in the mountains, on the coast, in the woods, whatever. But, you know, don't write off middle of the day photography. Don't write off, you know, miserable weather, as normal people, non-photographers would call it, because if I've learned anything over the years, is this: bad weather equals good weather. I mean, what is the point? Absolute shocking pea soup. Now, almost at the summit. We'll get onto this bonus tip in a second. Controversial one, absolutely. I'd love you to sign up to my newsletter if you really want to. You'll get 5 composition tips straight away, absolute free. And I send out a newsletter every week where I just have a bit of a chat more than anything. I do share quite a lot of tips and techniques in that as well. And yeah, a lot of sort of behind the scenes updates. And I would love to have yous along for the chat more than anything. That's what I love. But yeah, up to the summit, bonus tip, probably not going to be any views at all. So there we go. Actually, I don't know if it's this or that thing over there, so I'm going to have to go and touch them both, aren't I? Now, it was almost certainly that one back there. That was a waste of time. Right, this bonus tip. Yeah. Let's see what you think about this one. So the controversial bonus tip is this. If you're going to come out hiking taking photographs, don't bother bringing a tripod, or if you do need to bring one, just bring a little travel tripod like I've started doing recently. Do we need heavy, sturdy tripods? The reasoning behind this is in the same vein as outdoor gear. You don't want to be uncomfortable lugging up a load of weight where you get to the point where you're knackered and you feel like you don't even want to take photographs. But of course, this one is so personal. If you have to use a tripod and you don't mind bringing it up, come out with one. And going back to something I was speaking about earlier, I think it was a 3rd tip regarding telephoto lenses. If you would like to see me out hiking taking some of my favourite ever photographs, check out this video here. Thank you all so much for tuning in, ladies and gents, and I shall see you on the next adventure. Out!